Hello, I'm Casey Dorsch, and this is my presentation regarding the Multimedia Museum project. So for starters, where did I visit? I visited the George Walter Vincent Smith Art Museum. It's located in Springfield, Mass. I found this museum the most convenient to visit because it was a few miles down the road from our Western New England University campus. A little bit about the museum itself. It was established in 1896. The building was an Italian palazzo style building. I personally found it very welcoming from the inside and from the outside. There are a lot of historical aspects that were found throughout the building, inside and throughout the outside of the building. The staff itself was very friendly and very helpful. They welcomed you as soon as you walked through the doors, willing to answer any questions that were necessary. I had told them what the purpose of me being there was, and they were very excited to help me to complete this project. I found the museum itself very easy to navigate. The maps were very clear and very well laid out. So as for the environment wasn't too crowded. I spent the majority of my time in the room that is pictured in the photograph. I was one of the few people that was there, but I don't know if it could be due to the time that I visited. As you can see in the photograph, it's a very bright room that I spent majority of my time in. There were plenty of windows. The walls itself were painted a bright green color, so it really lit up all the sculptures and all the artwork that was located in the room. So the staff was placed only at the entrance. There wasn't a staff in this particular room. However, if I needed help, I would just go out, and the staff greeting people would be more than willing to help. Overall, I thought it was a comfortable and warm environment to spend my time in. So here on this slide, I just provided a bunch of different variety of art that was found in the room. I also provided a picture of what I thought was a beautiful feature, the glass window that I thought added to the historical value of the museum itself. So again, this is the room I spent majority of my time in. It is known as the Plaster Cast Collection. As stated before, it was the brightest room in the museum with the multiple windows surrounding and the bright green wall paint. I chose to spend majority of my time in this room and to choose my art form from this room due to the fact that as soon as I came in, I thought that this art felt the most familiar to me concerning the semester's pieces that we learned about. The work of art that I found was actually directed towards the back of the museum. I found this art in particular the most fascinating to me because, as you can notice in the previous photos, all the sculptures were large and they were very well depicted, but I thought that this was interesting that these figurines were also included in the same room as the massive figurines and sculptures. So there wasn't much of a description concerning the art piece that I chose to focus on, so I just chose some of the plaster collection description to focus on. So the George Walter Vincent Smith Art Museum is actually one of the few art museums in which plaster casts are permanently displayed. So it is the most complete collection in Western Massachusetts. The gallery opened to the public in July of 1899, which again proves the historical aspect of this building itself. These casts specifically provided inspiration behind the development of the museum art school that is located in this specific museum in Springfield, Mass. So a little bit more regarding that. In 1918, 22 years after the museum opened to the public, several boys asked for permission to sketch the sculptures. The curator enthusiastically gave her approval, and the boys began to sketch each weekend. So the museum's art class program grew from this informal beginning. So as for the comparison aspect of this PowerPoint, I chose to relate one specific body cast to Venus figurines that we learned about early on in this semester. As for the Venus figurines, just a little refresher on them. They are exaggerated proportions of female anatomical features. These anatomical features relating to sex, pleasure, and fertility. Sexual meanings for images of nude women. They are typically small female figurines, and they typically have no face. Again, they have present exaggerated anatomy, and they are often seen with tapered legs. So this photograph of a Venus figurine that is present on the slide, it is the earliest known example of a fired clay figurine, which in other words, it's the earliest known example of the ceramic. The material was local clay and powdered bone that was mixed and baked at approximately 1300 degrees Fahrenheit. So again, why Venus? Venus was a Roman goddess who portrayed love, sex, beauty, fertility, and pleasure. As we didn't specifically learn about Venus, this Venus painting itself, it does relate to why those figurines that we have learned about are called Venus figurines. So, majority of the Venus figurines are composed of stone, ivory, and ceramic and bone. This figurine on the left specifically is composed of limestone. It is located in the Natural History Museum in Austria. As for the body cast that was found in the Springfield Museum, while it is not nearly as exaggerated as the Venus figurines that we have learned about in the semester, I immediately thought of the Venus figurines as soon as I saw this sculpture. So the similarities are there's no face and there's no head. This could easily be due to destruction of the figurine itself. As I said earlier, I'm not sure because there wasn't much of a description underneath this artwork. So it is a female figurine. It is a nude female figurine, and it is composed of ceramic plaster, which composes some Venus figurines as well. As I stated earlier, while the body cast that I found is not even close to exaggerated as the Venus figurines, I do believe that it still contributes to the male gaze itself. So, a little concerning the male gaze. The male gaze is a feminist concept referring to the way visual arts view the world from a masculine perspective. Coined by film critic Laura Mulvey in 1975, the concept is described as the tendency of visual arts to portray society from a primarily male point of view. According to many feminist theorists, the male gaze commonly comes into play when depicting women, which perpetuates a distorted male-centric view of reality. So as stated, the typical viewer of artwork was to be male, which contributes to the name of the male gaze. So it's a depiction of women in the visual arts that is still seen today in a variety of films. However, in this aspect, we're focusing on the sculpture aspect. So it's a feminist concept that is useful in art criticism. I like to think of it as the dream girl due to the exaggerated anatomy and how women view men. I say dream girl because in historical times and oftentimes today, like men view women for their anatomical aspects relating to fertility in the historical times, which I think is a reason why facial features are not present on the Venus figurines and maybe why head wasn't present on the body cast that I had found, because fertility isn't really related to facial features as much as it's related to the anatomical aspects of women. So in conclusion, the George Walter Vincent Smith Art Museum was a great museum to visit. I found it very convenient, as stated earlier, that it was just a few miles down the road from our Western New England campus. I found that the atmosphere along with the staff was very welcoming, and I really enjoyed spending my time there. Thank you very much.